that Zimbabwe is something now on my map that I want to definitely visit when the pandemic is over and just like check out the tech scene myself, because it seems very exciting. So I'm really honored and I'm happy to be here, first of all, and thanks for the opportunity. And I really come here to equally just like learn from you. Like, I'm very curious just what's going on in Harare, just like curious of like what kind of companies you're building, what's the ambition, and if I can help in any way, please do get in touch with me. All right, so I'm gonna share a couple of slides, and again, I appreciate the intro. Is one thing I know is like I still don't know who am I gonna be when I grow up. But I do have a couple of thoughts, a couple of like kind of journeys that I could share with you, and I would really like this conversation to be very open and like just interrupt me at any point when you want to add something or comment on something, or have similar experiences, different experiences or something. So I'll share my story very, very briefly, and then I'll go into a very practical thing that I hope you can take away from this, and I hope that it would be useful for you. So I'm from San Francisco, and where I come from originally, which is Latvia. That's a country that is about 1 hour. It's 1 hour before Zimbabwean time. It's a Northern European country. So I come from Latvia, where I come from, we say ciao when we meet. So ciao, everyone. And this is what it looks like. It get really cold in the winter, and I really miss snow. And since I'm in the Bay Area, we don't have snow here. But it's really cold, sometimes minus 20, 25, and snow is just a wonderful thing. So that's my town. All right, and I'll share a couple of things that I've done. But like before that, I'll tell that I'm excited to talk virtually with you all. And like I know that when I was an entrepreneur in like in early days of my journey, I would always look at so the company is like one of my first companies I started, Infogram. I always look at people in Silicon Valley. It was like, like you're like, I don't know, you made it, or you did something, whatever. Whatever is the reason why you're there. And then I honestly spent like a decade telling people not to go to Silicon Valley before I ended up like myself coming here. Because I always strongly believe that all you literally need to build a great company is a couple of folks in a garage and just like a lot of dedication and resilience. You don't really need to be in the Bay Area, which is like really expensive, which is very competitive in the sense that like if you hire someone, the chances of them having like 20 times better terms if they go work for Google or Facebook, it's just like it's devastating for startups in that sense, right? But I ended up here for multiple reasons, and one being a curiosity of just like how that ecosystem works. But really, I feel like that's what I've seen. What I've seen in the past, like 10, 15 years around the world, is that the best place in the world to start a startup is exactly where you are. And so I started my first company in Riga. It was a gaming company. We failed. I started my second company, which is Infogram, and we scaled to multiple million visitors a day organically. We never paid for ads. We built what I believe at that time was 2012. We started what I believe at that time was the world's largest database community. It's kind of like Google Charts, if you will, but just like better a million times in almost every aspect. And it drives engagement for the media companies. So eventually we get acquired by Prezi in 2017. I moved on to my next startup, which got some early validations by 500 startups and a couple of other backers. Well, we couldn't find a market fit, so I joined a company called PostClick, and I joined as a chief design officer. I helped the company to scale their brand and certain aspects of the product as a product design lead. And really what PostClick does is, it's also like this also was my first job in like almost like a decade as being an entrepreneur. So there's a great opportunity there. So PostClick is a company that basically takes your ad traffic and helps to convert that into like meaningful conversions. And it's a massive opportunity for people. It's a really great company. And I have a lot of hobbies. And one of the things I started just pretty much the day when I started my first startup was I was like, I've never, as a kid was like, I think I started my first company was like 18 or something like that. And I was like I'm never like too young or too unexperienced to start giving back to community. That's what I've been told. So I start organizing events. The first event I organized was Mobile Monday, the Riga chapter from my town, and I ended up doing a couple of events here and there. So one thing that I'm still doing today is it's an ad hoc event. I organize it when it's needed and when I feel like doing that, when the people feel like doing that. Is a 1 day long boot camp called the Brutal Pitch Prep, which uses stand-up comedy as a methodology to help introvert nerds like myself, who are extremely shy speaking to other people, to feel great by speaking to other people. And the method we use is stand-up comedy for a reason that effectively what Brutal Pitch Prep is, the first startup goes on stage or now virtually in the Zoom or something, and they have like the mic for a couple of minutes. They can say whatever they want, and then the second startup comes over, and then they say what on earth the previous startup just told, and it just goes downhill from there. It's very funny, but it's also a very mentally kind of taxing experience because we try to dissect the startup pitch into understandable components. We want to make sure that people understand what your company is doing, and we want to give the feedback the first thing that's on our mind. So typically it works best if there's an audience. So you try to get around 50 to 100 people in the audience, so that people in the audience can give their unbiased, unfiltered, very direct feedback. It's very hard to listen to. But the thing is that your customers, that's why it's brutal, your customer is going to have that feedback for you. They're just never going to tell that. And so it will take you a much longer time to learn. So it's kind of like a very fun exercise. It takes, I think the shortest one I organized is like maybe 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes I've organized it for like half a day. Sometimes I organize a full day event. It really takes 40, 50 iterations, and you need at least 5 startups to do that properly. Go on stage, change, like iterate, make another slide until we get it right. And it's really exciting. And the inspiration for that was I was very much like a volunteer at my favorite tech startup conference from Europe called the Pirate Summit. It's now like 8 or no, it's like 10 years old conference, I think. It's the sort of Burning Man of Europe. And that was one of my first conferences where I was pitching my startup, Infogram. This is the plank. So at the Pirate Summit, you actually walk the plank in the audience. And these folks in the first row are the investors. So, you walk in the audience, they're like sharks or whatever underneath you. It's very fun. It's the only conference in Europe I know that serves beer for breakfast and rum for dinner. And it's a very unorthodox, it's an open air event. Like we burn things in the evening. And I got like an unbelievable opportunity like many years ago. I got an unbelievable opportunity to help to organize Pirate Summit Global, which is the international chapter, which I believe the year I was doing that had like something like roughly like 10,000 attendees, which is the actual Pirate Summit has like 2,000 or 3,000 people now, I think, in the venue in Germany. But this one was in like 26 or something countries. I don't know, it was like probably, I don't know, I think it was like 50 cities or something. And I was doing like 26 of those cities physically, and each of those cities is in a random different country. And most of that event was done in like about 2-3 months. So, I went like 20 something countries in about 2 months. It's very fun. And it was like really, really, really like eye-opening experience for me, because I realized is that we like to think the world is big, and we like to think the world is very diverse, and like the people are like XYZ whatever, but like pretty much a startup community in almost every country in the world feels very similar to me. Like you have ambitious tech people building ambitious startups pretty much everywhere in about the same level. What I saw, however, is that the opportunity level is not the same around the world. Like there are different opportunities, for success for those startups, but the entrepreneurs and the way they build those startups is very similar. So I kind of set my personal mission coming from, so Latvia is not a huge country. We are like 2 million people or something. And it always felt that, like so we're part of European Union, and the time when we joined European Union, we were the lowest economy, I believe, in European Union. It's like we were like really poor compared to the top countries. We grew very quickly. We managed to be one of the fastest economies in the EU for a while. I haven't checked that for now, but like I've seen how like you come to just like a place where it's like the opportunities does not exist, but historically we happen to have like these opportunities come to us for whatever reason. But I thought it's like one thing I want to do is just like share these opportunities. So with Pirate Summit, we started to go to places where we wanted to be like in communities where we can be the first startup event, kind of that is international and that could bring in international investors. So we were dragging international investors first time into like some of the events there and everything, and we just like wanted to kind of like see and kickstart kind of like these things. And like the way we did that was like incredibly unconventional. So like it's not like a startup conference where like you would go sit in an audience and then somebody goes in front of you and pitch. We did that as well, but like we did like a yacht ride in the San Francisco Bay. It was one thing we did. We did a hike in the tallest volcano in Asia. It was like there's a bunch of tech entrepreneurs. It was really cool. I did like pub crawling in Tokyo. It was like really crazy kind of hiking style, like whatever, like the most unorthodox way of kind of things that I could imagine. Like when I was doing Pirate Summit events, it's just like it's like you don't need like a massive group of people, but you want to build a network of like tiny like a tightly connected passionate entrepreneurs who would then help, because the value we brought was give and ask, right? So you want to give back to community, you want to give your opinions, your thoughts, your perspectives, whatever that could be helpful for others. And then if you really need something, you can ask. You're not like entitled to get that. So really, paying forward culture, absolutely non-commercial culture. And the other event I had the opportunity to be part of as a founder in this case is Digital Freedom Festival is the biggest tech event in Latvia. We did that in a palace. We thought that palaces are just there for the
Sorry,
for the
Uldis,
startups.
can I just stop you 2 seconds? Can you
Yeah.
just, since you're the host, can you just let a couple of people into the room?
Oh, am I supposed to be in charge of? I see. So if I don't say that, then people don't get in.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh wow. I feel I have a superpower. Okay. I hope everybody's in. If you're not in, please let me know.
Now, I'll just stop you if people need to get in.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks cool. I have a control panel. I think I know where it is now, so I'll be watching it. I'll be watching it. All right. Welcome to the group, everyone who joined. All right. So I was telling like so this is like an event I'm really proud of. Like so we did. I believe every country has this kind of place, which was it's like a very rich and beautiful building, kind of like a palace-like building in the center that is typically used for useful but kind of like boring cultural events like dancing folk songs and having like very high level meetings with people in suits and ties and everything. So what we did was like we basically rented the whole thing. It's like five-story buildings, massive, and we stack it with startups and lasers and unicorns. Like we massive paper unicorns, and it was just very fun. It was just very fun. We had like fully packed many floors of like many rooms. The rooms are not big, so this is the biggest room. So it's not big. most people won't fit in there. So like we had like many rooms, and like it just feels really, really good to have like, startups in the palaces. So this inspiration here was actually, from the Pioneers Festival in Vienna, and was just like thought like, I think we should scale that. Like we should have like the coolest venue in the town should belong to startups, at least for a day, right? So that's really fun. So yeah, it was Digital Freedom Festival. We did it for like, I don't know, it's like 5 years or something. It was really cool. Yeah, these are the places that I had the luxury to visit. So absolutely, without a reason and not absolutely unfairly, I have kind of like a cut of the line in the middle of the earth, and just like never went like on the southern part. So I hope Zimbabwe will be one of the first on the list when I when I start actually traveling again. So I haven't traveled anywhere that's not drivable within like a couple of hours for like last 2 years, which is scary, because I used to do like 20 countries a year, and I really miss that. So definitely will make sure to stop by. So yeah, that's kind of like my story, there. And like I really don't know. It's just like all my journey so far is just, I think that's kind of like a beginning to something that I still don't know what I'm gonna do next, or like what I'm gonna be when I grow up. Couple of thoughts I had was, as we initially mentioned, just like contemplating the idea of seeing whether I can be a meaningful add-on to the venture capital industry, just for a reason that I think that there is a severe lack of founders in the VC industry. Just generally, we just need founders. We just need more founders. Like if you build your startup, and if you're rich as a result of that, or if you just have, even if you have a couple of dollars, to be honest, like if you have ability to give back to the startup community, $1 from a fan from another founder is like $1 million from any other person, because like they can really help with like so much practical knowledge. So that's an area that I'm really interested in, and especially I'm interested in areas where the wealth could be redistributed, like help to grow the middle class around the world effectively, where like it would ideally be great if the same opportunities that people may have in terms of fundraising, in terms of access to all the things, like in Latvia, for example, or in Silicon Valley, or like any place on earth, like it should be even. Like we have ability to meet in the Zoom, and there's no delay when we talk, so there shouldn't be any other delays or discrepancies there. So I'm really interested in this sort of like aspect of like seeing the middle class in the world to be like relatively evened out. So that's one thing. All right, so the topic of this conversation here today is hypergrowth, and I want to talk about like a mindset, something that's very personal, something that's built on my personal experiences that I have. Sometimes I've done that and I've implemented in my startup, or sometimes I have I had an experience of being, or like privilege of being an advisor of a couple of really cool startups. So sometimes that knowledge comes from one or two startups that I have had the chance to advise, or just sometimes just an observation that I'm still figuring out how to test in the field. But these are like really probably like strategic level kind of thinking, and then some really tactical tactical tips of what I would normally do to set up the DNA of a company that is designed for hypergrowth, or designed for taking off. So as an example, for example, in Infogram's case, we had the first week when we launched, we had 25,000 users, and we ended up the first year with something like 150,000 users. So and all that was organic. We never paid for ads. Like until I saw the company, I don't think we paid much for ads. Like I myself haven't. So like we got like a lot of signups organically, and so has other startups I've been part of. So I'm gonna share some tips about it. So first of all, like that comes to mind when I talk about hypergrowth is like, maybe these are like Clubhouse, I don't know, like some really famous games, some really famous applications. And like, they're like really big. I think I put Snap here. Zoom is really viral application. I think Slack was one of the first companies that pretty much achieved like they doubled with every user they sign up. They had like 2 referrals or something, so which was considered impossible. So I think Snapchat and Slack were the first probably companies that get close to that. But I have to look into. I don't exactly remember the data, but that's when I was in trying to startups. I think when I looked into it, it's like these are like one of the videos like Clubhouse has been doing really good stuff, and like TikTok's amazing. So like how do they do that? Or maybe you think of like Airtable and Notion or Figma. It's just like companies that are really, they provide a lot of really good value. Something is really cool. But then a lot of people again like are using that product. So and the cool thing is like when I think of like, okay, so like I'm going to start a new company, right? And I'm in the same space, but then there's somebody like Airtable or somebody like Notion, and they're just like so much bigger. It's always a relevancy. Like your product needs to be relevant to the market. Your product needs to be needed in the market. But let's say I have a very good product. I have just like a product that people like to use. Like I'm not going to go into the product. Like it should be a relevant product. It should be something that solves real problems, has a real need. But that doesn't stop there. It's like you have a good product, like you have like an amusement park in the middle of a forest and nobody knows how to get there basically. So everybody would love that amusement park. It's amazing, but there's just no roads to get there. And that's the kind of feeling. It's like, so how do you do those roads? Like how do you get that? Like if you have a product, that product's good. Maybe you have some initial validations, maybe you even have like a few hundred or maybe a few thousand customers. But like that is not a massive success story. It's not like a massive company. It's like how to do that. And you think of hyper growth, it's always engineered. Like in rare cases, it is a pure luck or accident or something. But it's engineered. It's a consequential strategic activity that typically knowingly is taken and built into DNA of the product. And there's a lot of things around it. So I will be looking into one of those particular parts of DNA, and share some of those perspectives. So let's say this is your app, right? So let's not go into interface, just some kind of mobile app, wherever, desktop app, whatever that is, like that's your app. So effectively, your app has 2 ways of interactions. And the first one is what people outside, like people go about their daily lives. They wake up in the morning, they make a coffee, they go somewhere, they don't go somewhere, they work from home, they go to the gym, they go for a run, whatever they do with their lives, right? So like in that world, like when you go out to the street, you hear the traffic noise. In that world, somewhere, are your users. Like maybe those are people who might be your users. Like they're just there. And in most cases, if you're just starting, they're not your users, but they might be. And the second thing is your interface. So like basically this external and internal sides of your application. And so what are these things? So like if you go into the outside side, like so one thing is like word of mouth. It's like, oh, maybe people will start talking about my application. And like they won't just start talking about your application unless you do something that is pretty strategic that gets them to talk about your application. Ads is really cool. It's a good way to grow, but I typically don't like launching something with ads without having any kind of organic mechanisms in there, because ads are like, they give you a lot of traffic. But eventually, if you don't know how to sustain that traffic, if you don't know how to make those people stay, if you don't know how to magnify the traffic with some kind of organic means, that eventually will run out of money. Early stage startups typically run out of money. That's the main reason why they shut down. So if you put in your effort into paid traffic and you figure it out and like it works, some startups, that's all they need, right? So like you figure out a paid channel, that's good. But I would just not start with the ads. I would just start with everything else. And ads is really a rocket fuel. Like ads is something you add to something that works and you magnify that. It's like you need the spaceship in order to add the rocket fuel to that spaceship. If you just have a lot of rocket fuel, it will burn and will be bad and will be messy and will not be good. So ads has a potential to waste insane amount of money without particularly gaining any insights or anything. So I just want to caution, like, there's nothing wrong about, having an entirety of the history of a startup to be paid acquisition, but I strongly believe in organic channels as the core, and then ads as a magnifier. The other thing is, for most of the part, SEO is really, really relevant. So SEO can be, it's very, very, very diverse, right? So like it could be an app store SEO. It could be an SEO in some kind of a platform, like maybe you build a Shopify plugin, so you optimize for Shopify. Maybe you do an Etsy business, you optimize for Etsy. For more classical approach, you would be, just like targeting Googles and Facebooks and so on. But like each of those platforms has their own ways and means of how they sort out what is relevant. And investing in that pays off like massive dividends over time. SEO is slow, but it's not expensive. It's just generally slow, and over the time it makes you indestructible. It's very strategic, but like it could generate you sometimes millions and millions of visitors organically for free, and all you need to do is put in a couple of weeks of understanding how SEO works and fine-tuning all the components of your application. The other aspect is PR is just like, again, it doesn't really cost you anything. It's like every single time when you do something, to send out a press release. And then the last one, it's just like, customers just looking for you. Like they're just looking for a solution for their problem, and they find you somehow. So just make sure you're findable. So I touched on briefly this side, but like most of the things I want to focus on is the thing that happens inside your product. And like effectively the product consists of landing pages and interface. That's all, right? So there's a little bit more things there. It's like, you have testing, you have data, you have UX writing. But I kind of want to go into this aspect here, and I can talk about the first part, like what happens outside of your product. I love that area. I've done a lot of things around PR and SEO and organic stuff around there. I really love that, but it's maybe a topic for different conversation. But I want to go into this kind of particular area, which is your property. Like you're supposed to be able to control that, right? So one word that often comes to mind when people say like, oh, landing pages, oh, like people come to your ads, then they come to your site, then they convert, and they sign up, then they become loyal customers, like some kind of like a funnel. So like they refer to like funnel management, whatever. And like I never understood or never believed in this sort of nonsense kind of thing in terms of software as a service products, because let's put it this way: it's like there's nothing wrong about it. I think it works, but maybe it seems like a tactic for like a bigger organizations, not necessarily for startups. So I really have a different perspective. I have a perspective where I just see product differently. I don't see product as a bunch of funnels and numbers in that sense. What I see is, first of all, like your users are humans. Like I'll tell you a secret, by the way. It's like, it's really cool when you think about that. Like your users are not like they have an individuality. They have some kind of really particular individuality. They're weird. They have their reasons why they got up late today. They have their patterns of behavior. There's weather when they go out. Like there's like feelings they have, right? So they have very different backgrounds. They have very different reasons for doing something, and for whatever reason, your product happened to be in their way of their lives. So some real people, like think about yourself, think about what all the thoughts you had personally as a person. Like, so think about all the thoughts, think that everything made you frustrated over the last week, right? All the things you currently remember, like what's on your mind right now? Can you list out all those things, right? So that's a real person, like, and every user has exactly the complexity of the same feelings as you have right now today. So they're really real people. Like each of them are really individuals and everything. Yeah, you can group them into different demographics. I would assume that, maybe in Harare you have a really cool coffee shop, and everybody's talking about a coffee shop. So you have a lot of people that are connected to that coffee shop. But at the end of the day, you're still talking about, it's not saying that, oh, everybody likes coffee or something. It's so much more complicated than that. Their trends, their friends, like, why do you like that coffee shop? It's like, oh, because of my friend. He told me about it. I went there, really loved that. Whatever. It's like so the thing is that everything that happens with that person's experiences, and we love products, like we love ads, we love products, we like buying things because that's part of human experience. Like everybody eats something every day, more or less so. Everybody is, buying something more or less every day and consuming something, and we actually like consuming, right? Like think about, like, you get a new piece of hardware or clothes or food or everything. That's exciting, and it's exciting because we spend some time doing that. So like, how does your product fits into this part, not as a afterthought, but like kind of like driving that excitement? Can you do that? Can you be that trendy coffee shop that everybody's talking about? Like, what can you dissect that? Can you reverse engineer of why that coffee shop becomes so fun? Because they put a green sign outside and everybody kind of like got curious and they went inside. If I put a green sign, would that work as well? Like, think about it like in these kind of like reverse engineering terms. Like, what can I do? Was it the novelty? Maybe the next coffee shop that has a green sign is no longer cool, right? And here's one part of a secret sauce. So effectively, you're talking about, when you talk about the inside of the product, so you have like the inside and outside. We talk about the inside of the product, and you think about the growth management inside the product. The first thing you think about it doesn't really matter. You're doing a coffee shop, you're doing an airline, you're doing a SaaS product, a mobile app, or like a video streaming, whatever you do, is the user comes to your product with a particular set of expectations. Those expectations are rooted in their personal feelings, emotions, whatever reasons they have to go out of their way and within all the things happening in their lives to end up in your product. Maybe they found you, maybe they click on your ad, maybe they get referred by their friend, but they had a perception when the first time when they saw your product, you captured their attention for like a millisecond or maybe more, hopefully more. What did you say to them creates a perception. This is what this product is. The perception in turns makes me think, do I need that? Or if I don't need that? And if I need that, I say, yes, okay, let me try it out. And so I sign up to the product. And I have an expectation at that point. I have an expectation that this product will be able to do X, Y, Z. And human imagination is way faster than startups' ability to develop. So like, careful what you say, because the words really have a lot of meaning in that sense, that they build up that imagination of what expectations should I have about this product. And things are really simple. Like when the expectation meets the reality of your product, the people are happy because they had expectation, the expectation was fulfilled. So they're happy, they stay, and they use your product, and they adopt your features. And when the expectation is not met, they are sad and they go away. And that's the churn. So that's the first thing, is like kind of figuring out this kind of thing. Is it very goes into the messaging, the first messaging you do with your users. And then the second part is like, well, now that we've got you to understand what our product, and believe me, this is incredibly difficult, like to build up the right expectations and to actually meet them, is like your messaging should be very relevant. Like it should talk about the things people care about and so on. So it's very hard. But once you've done it, there's only one thing that you have to do is like, well, now that you're a happy user, can you bring your friends too? So these are basically the two simple things that I like to look into the product strategy, how to make the product grow effectively on its own. So, and I thought of like a best analogy there, and I really felt like, well, like a really physical market. Like you go to a market, you meet a salesperson, and they were like, oh, I have like really good shoes, or like I have I don't know, a watch, a hat, whatever things. Like I'm gonna sell that to you. So you have this experience where you can ask questions, you can try it on. How this all like kind of just feels like, oh, I like it. Okay, the shoe feels really great. We all been there, right? So when you do that in a digital world, your product is the only thing that's going to be there talking. So like, you're not going to be able to go to your customer and say like, oh, I think the red shoes will look better instead of the brown shoes, or like try out this or try out that. Like, you don't have that ability to be this good salesperson and to help your customers to onboard. So it really is, your customers are on their own. So how do you replicate? You basically want to maximize your product's ability to talk. That is the goal. It's like, you want to be able to talk to your customers. Basically, is the same way as a good salesperson would do in the market. Like, hey, come to my shop, sit down, I'll give you coffee. How are you doing today? It's like, how is everything? You know, like building that human relationship instead of thinking of like, click here, click there, looking at heat maps and all of that stuff. Like, can you replicate as close as possible the human experience? And that's easier than it could be, right? And again, like, the way to think about it, and I hope this is useful, right? So let me know if you want me to stop or like or add additional things, or like comment on anything here. It was like, I'll talk about a viral loop. So viral loop is a really, really cool thing. So effectively, this is a life cycle of your product, and there's a lot of really simple things you can probably do. So first of all, like, your life cycle starts with sign up, and then your customer goes into some kind of discovery phase. There's like,
Hi,
lead
Uldis.
qualification.
Sorry,
Yes,
I've got a question.
yes, please.
Okay, so just before you start this viral loop talking about it, my question is around just the customer. You know how you're talking and describing the different types of customers, right? Or like, I mean, the customer being human. And then in terms of preparing for this hypergrowth, do you then invest in making sure that you go and do a little survey? Because I mean, most of the times as an entrepreneur, you assume you know your customer, and then you wonder why the product didn't work. And you wonder why it didn't really match or fit, Do you then, is that the part where you sort of get volunteers? I don't know, like, you invest in trying to go out into the market and asking if your target audience is going to be like teenagers, generation, whatever. Do you know them? Do you understand? Do you know what makes them, tick and stuff? Is that part of a process that maybe one has to do? Definitely.
Absolutely. So I think that, first of all, like, there's a lot of things, like, kind of like really focused on like just like one aspect of that. I think that talking to customers generally is a great idea at every stage of your product, at every point, as much as you can possibly. So I would probably suggest like founders and really all the team members to do customer support for the first year. That's probably the best, easiest way to continue to have that insight. But I kind of assume that you have a borderline, some kind of knowledge about what your customers are, because you should be doing these interviews, you should be doing these conversations anyway. So you should be having that before you start the product. There's an aspect that I kind of want to challenge a little bit in terms of the it sounds funny, because like, I feel like, talking to customers is always a great idea, but also seeing companies overdoing a little bit the qualitative research part. And what I feel like it's probably, there's a qualitative research and quantitative research has to come together at one point. And you can think of like qualitative research ends up in personas, where you have different customer personas. You can narrow them down in particular ways. But you can reverse engineer those personas also through quantitative means. You can do, for example, so what I like think of them as like organic personas, or like, how to say. So when I think of a persona, I say like, oh, it's a male, 29, 36, works in the bank. It's a female, 31, 38, works in, I don't know, finance, or works in media or whatever else, right? So like, I have these kind of like buckets that I can come up with, but then those personas are a little bit detached from the data at the end, because like, now what? Okay, so I have this male character that I can picture is a random person. I'll make it very human. I'll put like a colorful shirt on that guy, and I'll imagine that this freaky synthesized persona actually represents a group of my users. It gives me an emotional attachment And I like that a lot, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And as you grow your product, you would actually know those people really, really personally. You would, what I've done actually with more confidence, instead of inventing users, I've actually initially I just like take some really loyal customers that I have and just use them as kind of prototype. It's just like, this is exactly what kind of people I want, because they're really happy and they serve them well. But the other way of looking at it is quantitative quantitative metrics that then reverse engineer those personas. And the difference there is that sometimes those male and female characters, actually the gender was not the role that impacted the way they use your product. Actually, there were successful people. So there were people who were successful in onboarding on your product, but failed to adopt certain feature. There were also people who were unsuccessful in onboarding, but they become successful 2 years later after the customer support kind of start intervening and talking to them. So I like this more organic kind of segmentation of users into personas. And like, I think persona is at that point no longer as relevant, because they don't have a unified face. They become more synthesized from different groups. So this is how I like approaching that. So I really think that the quantitative part is really, really important. And then you should reverse engineer and match them down to the personas. So that I hope that answered that question. I know it's kind of like a little bit long answer there, but
yeah,
I do think that I do think it's like very important when you're like, I'll talk about pilots later, but basically you don't normally go to the airport as a pilot. You don't walk to the plane and say like, interesting, like, where would I fly today? And then you take off and say, oh, it's kind of green here. It's kind of, oh, it's like a lake. Okay, I'll fly over the lake today, and let's see where it takes me, right? So like, you don't do that really. And like, I want to prevent anything that's not really data driven initially in the startups, because opinions gives you a lot of emotion, but data really guides you. And I think that you may miss out if you don't have that emotional part, but you will most certainly not going to fly to the right destination if you don't have the data. And like, I really advocate for the data first, and then everything else has to happen around it. Absolutely valuable. Has to happen. You have to talk to your users all day long, every day, as much as you can. But it only matters if you can reverse engineer and match them into this sort of system. And I use viral loop as like basically the backbone of it. So let me go back to this story here. So let me go back and just kind of like walk through it. So okay, so the viral loop is basically this, like, like you sign up, there's some lead qualification, it's onboarding, there's active user, you become active, and at one point you churn. So that's the lifetime, right? And the money you spend within the cycle is the lifetime value of the user. So this informs you about things like advertising money. So like, if I spend $10 in buying a user, so for me to have one sign up that is paid, I need to spend $10, and then I earn $15. So my lifetime value is $15. My revenue, lifetime revenue of the user is like, it's like $5 basically, right? So lifetime value of a user is $5 with this acquisition channel. If I get the organic user for free, the lifetime value of that user is minus the paid ads, so it's like $15. So that's kind of cool. So, but then there's also this other thing is called the referrals. So they live somewhere around here, and they can really happen in any part of the cycle, before the churn and after the sign up. There could be referrals, maybe even before the sign up could be referrals. And referrals gives you another metric to look at, which is viral coefficient. And viral coefficient is really a really simple number. It's a component of the viral loop, and it really counts how many users needs to sign up to your product for you to get one user referred to your product from those users who sign up. So for example, if you have viral coefficient 0.1, means like 10% of your users invite someone else. 0.1 viral coefficient 0.1 is, by the way, is really, really big. It's massive. Like normally you would have like something like 0.05 or something. It would be really good. But you would want to aim at something like 0.1, 0.1, 0.2. The reasons why I mentioned some of the high growth companies, they're, as far as my understanding goes about viral coefficient, it is nearly impossible to achieve 1. Like basically meaning that every user that uses your product invites someone else. There has been some products that has achieved more than that. So that's kind of really, really complicated like achievement, but that effectively means that you're unstoppable as long as you don't run out of those people in the world. Like you just keep growing like exponentially. That's what gives you the hockey stick metrics, right? So what it does effectively, if you invest in viral coefficient development and like making sure that you keep track, like first of all, like make sure you can measure that, like make sure you know what's the viral coefficient of a product, like how many users you need to sign up for them to sign up one more user, and then keep track that and then see how it improves over the time, and do tactical things and strategic things as well, but like do things that improves that number. First of all, it gives you 10%. Like if you have viral coefficient 0.1, it just gets you 10% discount on every ad you buy, because that's not as simple as that, like because like every ad has different demographics, so the viral coefficient of each ad segment will be a little bit different, sort of thing. That's true, but at the end of the day, it effectively gives you a discount. So like if you can get like 20% discount, 10% discount on Google ads, like, well, that's a pretty good deal, I would say. So it's worth investing, and viral coefficients are organic metrics. The other thing is increases retention, because
about viral coefficient, would we say that Clubhouse had a strong viral coefficient? Would you know what the number was?
I don't. I honestly don't. I was trying to look it up yesterday. I didn't find it, but I'll follow up with you if I do, because I'm actually curious. They had a very, very, very strong, but like they're not like insane, right? Like there's been a lot of products that has had like highly successful thing, but there are many triggers that triggers that, and I think that what matters is literally just like finding the trigger that works for you. I know what I do know is that like something around 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 is perfect. Like if you can get that number, it's perfect. It's amazing. And then if you can get anywhere closer to 1, the closer to 1 you can get, the better it is. Like I think that like from how I see that, I see it nearly impossible to achieve 1. Basically, I think that's very, very, very hard. So I don't know. Clubhouse has very unique mechanics, and they might have achieved something close to 1, because it's an average metric. So right, like it doesn't mean that every user has to invite someone. It needs to be like a median number. I don't know. I will look it up and I'll follow up if I find it. But I just really want you to keep track on that number, just to see that. Okay, so going back here, so it increases retention slightly, at least, is because if your friend invites you to a product versus if you just find it on yourself on your own, there's a slight chance that you will be a little bit more loyal. And that matters. That really matters. I think Facebook had a long time ago, they had the discovery that for you to sign up to a product, you need to have 5 friends using that product. It improves the trust, because if my friends are saying that this is a good product, or like if my friends are in Clubhouse, right, I'm more likely want to be there, instead of like, hey, do you want to try another audio broadcasting app? I was like, why I need an like audio broadcasting apps. Like, no, I don't actually need an audio broadcasting app. I want to connect with people that are really cool, and my friends say it's really cool. So it's very different trust mechanics. Equally decreases the churn for the same reasons. So effectively, how it works. So first of all, you have to identify these numbers you care about. Never change those numbers. Maybe add more. Like just make sure you have some kind of setup, like a rigid tracking system where you can track these numbers. As long as you can track them, keep tracking them, keep seeing how they change, how they improve, and keep adding more measurements to that. And like you will have eventually a really cool dashboard. And then
Uldis, is this something that like investors would want to see, like potential investors? All this stuff, is it something
absolutely. Yeah. Like I think that I haven't seen any reasonable investor who would not start by like show me your data. Like I think that that's like one thing. And like having the control over the data, you know, for the first thing is like if you do it really, really well, like you may never need investors to start with, and that's a great place to be. Ideally you won't, but like really it's just like I've seen just way too many startups who are like those pilots. They just like walk to the plane and it's like, I'm gonna fly somewhere today, let me see where it can go, like what's the right altitude, like okay, I think I'm done flying. Let me look up for the airport. Airport is, it looks like a road. Let me look down. It's like, oh, it's like, is that an airport? No. So like so many startups are actually building the business this way, just like they just roll like without any particular insights or data or anything. So they can be successful, but they don't know that. They can be completely like failing and nobody needs a product. They're like, maybe they sign up 1 million users a day and then they lose 1 million users a day, and they never know that, right? They never learn why and what they can improve. That is just, it's just like, it's like quite important to really start with that. And then basically you build on top of knowledge. You don't build on top of like intuition or feelings or anything. And then when you go to investors, like the good investors will certainly reward companies that are or want to be aligned with companies that are like intelligent, basically.
Okay, thanks. Makes sense.
So all right, so let's go here. So how do we adjust those triggers? Let me look in those triggers. So okay, so I show these like cockpits, like kind of things. But this is really how you want to fly your company. Like again, I really think that airlines are better off having these dashboards and handles and switches. Like instead of running an airline, we have 5 planes. They're like flying somewhere. You know, people get on board. We'll land them somewhere. They'll get out. You know, and like it sounds insane, but then you know, if startups were like airlines, this is how they would be run. It's like, this is not the right way. So one interesting thing about the SaaS products, especially and mobile apps, and like everything that has an interface, effectively, there's this really funny thing is like, if you have a button, somebody will click on it. Like if you have a traffic, people come to your site, or people come to your product. If you have traffic and you have a button, somebody will click on it. So the question is whether they will take the action afterwards. And there are things that happens before and after and during that interaction. So let's see. So first of all, so let's go here. It's like, let's say that our goal is invite your friend. So that we have a product is good. We have a button in the product and we say, you know, invite your friend. So first of all, what is really important is that you've done the lead qualification when you sign up your users, right? You can get a lot of people in by offering some kind of nonsense, but their expectations would not be met, so they will not be happy. So therefore they will, instead of referring someone else, they would actually leave and they'll be frustrated, they'll be struggling, they're just gonna close the app, the browser, whatever. So make sure you get the right people. And once you get the right people, don't just let them in your app and say, hello, this is the app, whatever you want to do here or something. Make sure you actually onboard those people. Be that good salesperson. Say, welcome to my store. I'm happy to have you here. How are you doing today? Would you like to have a seat? Would you like to have a coffee? Tell me about your day. What brought you here? We're doing really good shoes. We're doing very good suits. We're doing really good, I don't know, bread, bakery, whatever. I'll tell you the stories. Like this shop was started by my grandfather. He was whatever. It's like, so tell them get them on board, get them excited, get them personal about the product, explain every feature that they will be getting there. It's like, my product does XYZ for you. This is what you can do. This is what you can do. So when they get in the product, they have that expectation that they would be, you know, all the frustrations come from the expectation. The expectation is engineered. The expectation is given to them. It's not like, oh, this is my perception what your product is going to do. Don't leave them alone there. It's like, this is literally like the 99% of your churn is coming from the fact that people didn't understand what the product is about. And make sure they're not alone. Make sure that as much as you can, make sure that, you know, that the way people get there is like they know that their friends are there or something, if possible, right? Not all products would be possible like that. And then the other thing is like messaging, is like, how do you talk to them? What tone of voice you use, like how you talk with all this, like these kind of things, like impact, it's kind of like things around. And the other thing is, so timing. So let's say, okay, so again, our goal is to invite a friend. So let's say you sign up to a product and it's like, bam, invite your friend. So it might actually work, but it's kind of like, okay, let's go back to the salesperson. So let's say you want to buy shoes. And so imagine this, you walk in the store and instead of that nice experience I just told you about, is like red or green. I was like, what? Red or green? $5, red or green? I was like, what are you talking about? So if you are timing something, it has a context. Like if you say, you know, my grandfather built a store, he made these shoes from like whatever, like vegan materials, and we have these organic colors, and we have the green color that is made from XYZ plant, and then we have these whatever, like, do you like these shoes? Which ones do you like, the green shoes or the red shoes? Like which ones would you post on Instagram most likely? You know, would you refer your friends to something like, so you need to know, and like it's kind of like a magical number. Like every product has its own unique time, like I don't know, it typically is connected to some kind of activity. So for example, if it's a product where you're posting pictures on the internet, maybe you need to post 5 pictures on the internet, maybe you need to have 5 likes for those pictures. There's a magical activity, it's a magical number that you need to somehow figure out. There's no formula for that really. It's like you need to observe your product, you need to have these metrics, and you need to look, but there is most certainly there is a correlation between certain user activity and the moment when they're most likely to invite other people. There's also a timing when they're most likely to upgrade to your paid plan or to a higher plan, whatever. Like, so for example, if you start using a trial, you need to do XYZ, and at that point you're most likely to convert into a paid customer or something like that. So let's say if our goal is to get the user to publish 3 photos, let's make sure that they can publish 3 photos. Let's build the interface around so they publish 3 photos. Or let's make sure, like, for example, like when you sign up to like Twitter or TikTok or Pinterest, they will force you, like they won't let you into the product. They will force you to follow at least 5 or 10 someone. Like you go to Pinterest, they're like, choose 5 topics that you like. No, you cannot use Pinterest if you do not choose 5 topics that you like. Or you go to Twitter, they're like, follow people. Do you like these people? Okay, you don't. Okay, so do you like these? Like follow someone, please follow someone, because if your tweets, if you don't have anything you follow, if you don't have something, you're not going to be using Twitter, because Twitter is completely pointless if there's nobody is, you know, there no tweets coming in your timeline, right? So you effectively need to, sometimes you need to actually enforce basically like, hey, do XYZ, because otherwise you're not going to be successful. And that gets you like all of these, like they're coming to the same thing. It's like, well, this gets you to an act. This gets you to be active.
Sorry to interject.
It's a really, really terrible sound. Like
to interject.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Right.
Like when you have can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear
Hello?
you. All good.
Yes, I've got a question. What if in a situation where you've engaged your clients, like or your users,
my impressions were high in the first 2 days, and engagement started to increase. But all of a sudden, all of a sudden, the impressions started to decline, but engagement didn't decline. What might be the cause of such a scenario? That is on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on Instagram.
So I will repeat that because the sound was breaking up a little bit.
Did you get me?
Let me try to repeat what I understood, and you tell me if that's what you meant. So you're saying, what if the engagement stays the same and impressions are going down? Is that what you mean? On like Facebook and Instagram and stuff.
All right. I'm saying, can you hear me now?
We can hear you quite well. It's just there's a lag, and there's sometimes some parts of what you say gets lost. Unfortunately,
maybe sorry.
Maybe you can type. Maybe you can type the question
maybe
as
you
well.
can type the question. Just type the question, and then he'll answer it. It'll be easier that way.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'll go forward, and I'll be monitoring the chat. When you type a question, I'll go back and answer to that. But I want to give this to like here. I want to talk about this reason thing. So like, let's say some of the things are right, and we figure out the timing thing. I want to talk about the reason, and here is like this so far was really, strategy, and I kind of want to give you, this is the last part of this presentation. I just want to give you a couple of like snack size tactical ideas that you can hopefully use, try out. They're fun. Tactical ideas that you can use to play around with this. So let's say you have this button, right? And your goal is to invite friends. So you have to give them some kind of a reason. So you have to be relevant in terms of time. And the first thing I like to do is like, so first of all, you like going back before we start this is like, you need to be able to measure these, and you need to be able to have ability to try multiples of those out. Like, it's not like I tried it for a week. Experimentation is a culture. It's something that is ongoing. It is part of your DNA, and regardless how big you are, you would always have to run like parallel interfaces, parallel experiences of your product, and then see how those, basically each of these considerations, assumptions, whatever those are, experiments, they become a cohort, they become a segment of your users, and how they behave. What happens to that segment? Like, are they successful? Are they more successful or less successful? Whatever. So let's say you have a button. I'll just give you a lot of reasons. So why should I invite my friends? So first of all, there's no reason. We're a good software. I hope you like our software. Just invite your friends. And the reason for this partially is to set up a baseline. What if I don't offer any incentives whatsoever? Would people invite their friends? Because maybe they like their product. Like, if, for example, Tesla or Apple, they're such a great brand that they have no incentive to refer their friends, but word of mouth is still like one of the greatest drivers for new customers. Like, they don't even, like, Tesla don't even buy ads, and like they're sold out like a year ahead, and like you cannot even get that thing. So sometimes all you need to do is just like, maybe like if you're that successful, maybe you don't do anything, but like basically if you want to measure that, like say, hey, like you have a button in your interface that says invite friends. There's a drop down, you type in an email address or something and send an invite. That's it. The second thing is like, okay, so let's look into the Clubhouse case. So what Clubhouse did was they did quite a complex layer of gamification. So it's a status-based gamification. So Clubhouse gave you a badge of achievement in return for inviting someone. So when you're invited to Clubhouse, in your profile, and I believe permanently, it says, so for example, Simba invited me to Clubhouse. So it says like Uldis profile, whatever my picture is, and then a small print underneath my name, it says invited by Simba. Okay, so Clubhouse is exclusive community where only people invited can get in. And I follow Uldis because I think he's a cool guy. He's giving cool presentations. And Simba invited him to Clubhouse. That means that Simba is probably like way cooler because he was there first. So he should have known someone who was there even earlier. So it kind of gives this kind of social clout. And it's a massive, it's a toxic gamification. Like it is unstoppable. Like that's one of the catalyzers for the Clubhouse growth is like I know someone who knows someone who's really important, and like that's exactly the the scarcity, all the. That's what I thought. Like think of real people. Like why would you like not like why would I want to buy a coffee? Why would I want to buy cheap coffee in a corner store? Like, but what would make me really to line up for a product and stay on the street for 3 days and nights just to be first in that store? Like what scarcity do I need to engineer? And scarcity and all of these things are engineered. They're just not there naturally. Somebody made that rule, right? So that's one way of gamification. A more common one, much easier to make, is skip the line. So it's a scarcity trigger, but like much easier. It's just like access the feature XYZ or get into the product if you invite 3 friends, 5 friends, whatever. Like you have, like for example, Robinhood would use like your place in the list is 300,558, and you can shorten your place in the line by half if you invite 5 friends successfully or 1 friend successfully or something like that. So that drives a lot. And then I think a very good success there is Airmail. Used to be an email software that built this system. I think one of the first ones. Robinhood was one of the first to use that as well. But Airmail basically built that system. They get 50 million or something like users, and then they get acquired by Dropbox like a few months after they launched for $150 million. Very early days. I think they had like 11 or something employees. It's very good exit. But like the way they grow was they just didn't let people into their product. They show a very cool UI. If you want to get in, be on the line. If you want, be in the line, and then if you want to be faster to get in, like invite more people to the line. And it really worked. Collaborate. This is very natural. So this is something that Slack is using, for example. I mean, also Clubhouse to one extent is like you cannot use Clubhouse alone. So invite colleagues, friends to collaborate with them. So to talk to them, to send messages to them. You cannot use Slack alone. So Slack is actually amazing example. Zoom is an amazing example. Like you would not sit in the Zoom room alone, right? So like you would be, if you're using Zoom and I'm not, and you want to talk to me, you would say, hey, I have this cool software. So these are some of the most powerful triggers you can use. A collaboration is probably one of the best ones to actually almost like enforce the viral coefficient growth. Like you can really get close to 1. Like in case of Zoom, like you should be able to get very close to like 1 at least initially, because like you cannot use Zoom alone, so you should be inviting someone. Another thing is, you pay for ads, for example. So like things have money, like monetary value. You pay for ads, they cost money. So loyalty costs money too. So like one thing you can do is like you can print swag, you can make t-shirts, whatever, and recognize a milestone or achievement. Give people something really physical, send them an actual object. Because first of all, don't think about a t-shirt that you send to the users that they will be, I mean, like one way to think about it is like, oh, I will have this swag. I will brand it terribly, whatever. Like I'll put my logo as big as possible, maybe 2 of my logos, and then people will look at that swag. Like somebody will walk around with a water bottle or T-shirt. People will look at it, and then they will sign up to my product. That's not going to happen. So don't do that. Don't make terrible, like, that's trash away. That's not swag. It's not like helping anybody. Like, make something that is beautiful. Make something that people want to use. You are not using that person you send a t-shirt as an advertising banner. You are increasing that person who wears your t-shirts, that person's loyalty, not their friends, not anybody who sees them in a t-shirt or not a billboard, but just that person's loyalty. And they will do. Okay, Alice, thanks for your question. I have received that. So let me read your question. I'll go back to that. So my organic impressions has all of a sudden stopped to grow on social media, but engagement has been good on all the platforms. So this is a wild beast. The social media is, each social network has their proprietary and secret algorithms of how how they show your content. Sometimes it's nothing to do with you. It's like maybe Facebook changes their algorithm. So for example, if I post something on Facebook, you will not see it necessarily right away. Like if you added me as like a start, like see first kind of, I will see an immediate notification. But actually Facebook algorithms will figure out the best time to show that content. And it's weird because it doesn't sound natural. Like when you post a blog, or when you write like something on the internet or something, like it's just there right immediately. But it's not there immediately on Facebook, because Facebook is not like, if you go to my profile, yeah, you will see that. But if you just scroll your wall, and if you didn't interact with my content, they may deprioritize that. They may deprioritize that without any reason from my side. They may just like play around with their algorithms and like do exactly these testing things that I was telling about just on us as their users. I think what matters is like, if your engagement is good, what I would try to just do is like try to experiment, try to reverse engineer, basically try to guess what their algorithm has been trying to accomplish, and trying to see what change, when did the change happen. And like one thing I would start is like, if it happens across multiple platforms, that's probably you. If it happens on Facebook and Instagram, that's still the same company. So maybe that's just Facebook. If it happens on Facebook, but it doesn't happen on Pinterest, for example, just maybe read news about what Facebook algorithms have been changed, because people are actually monitoring. There's a lot of people investing a lot of time and energy in reverse engineering these, trying to understand and guess them. So try to read what's happening. But then also like I would like just like check your metrics, like make sure you understand if there's any possible reason that you might be to be responsible for that, and try to see whether, like, I don't know, if you repost exactly the same thing you posted a week ago when the impressions were higher, or if you post something almost identical, like would that change? I don't know, just experiment, like see. In a way, it's kind of like, you try it out, because for these platforms, you don't really have access to like formula, because if Facebook were to give this formula out, how they prioritize things, people will start gaming it. They're already gaming it by guessing. So so I would just like try to reverse engineer that by playing around with, like, I post this, it doesn't work, I post this, it doesn't work, like experiment, see how it works. It might be so that like Facebook has just determined the right frequency of showing your content. That's another way of a possibility. In that case, you need to look at other content strategies that would increase that. The other thing, by the way, is like, if you do that on Facebook, create multiple groups or create multiple channels, and then try out similar content on different channels to see what works. Because if Facebook labels one channel in particular bucket, it might be hard. So maybe it's good that you try out multiple types of content and multiple types of channels, see what works and performs best. I hope this answers your question. If it doesn't, then I'll share my email address at the end. Like, feel free to follow up with me. I'm happy to see more. All right. So going back to these, a couple of more of these left. So like one thing is you can do is like unlock a feature for free. So for example, another trigger, so like invite your friends, you'll get this feature for free. Like Dropbox scaled massively by giving free storage in exchange for invites. I don't remember, it's like you get a free gigabyte or free half a gigabyte or something for inviting your friends, or like 250 megabytes or something. That time was not a small thing, so it was really cool. So it scaled quite rapidly, and it was permanent, like you own it. The ownership is really strong feeling. Unlock exclusive trials. So maybe you have a product that only has paid trials, like, or maybe you have a product fee. So you have a free product, you have a paid product. You can try that paid product for like a month for free if you invite someone. You can, you know, as of like what you do is like some physical products or something, you know, give one of these to your friends, like you'll get one as well. See how it works. Free credits, like if you have some kind of credit system or some kind of items that you sell, give those for free. Especially like in stock markets, in crypto, it's very common that you would give the tokens or stocks for a reason that if you have those stocks, you have an account that has a value in it. So that in itself is a value, but then instead of just giving that value, you give that value conditionally if you invite your friends. Like if you sign up, we'll give you one stock. If you invite your friends, we'll give you 3 more. Even though it's like maybe $5 in your account and doesn't seem like a lot, but $5 that I've earned through a social interaction with my friends, because it takes an effort to invite my friends. It has an impact on my relationship with that friend. So I would only invite them to things that are good. That goes a long way. So I would actually be pretty loyal at the end. And a friend might be loyal because they have now in the beginning of the exactly the same like cycle. Sometimes, and this goes into like lifetime value, is like if you know that your customer acquisition, like for like if you have like a SaaS product and like a customer acquisition is $300 per customer. To get one paid customer, you need to pay $300, and then maybe your lifetime value is $5,000. So $300 sounds like a good deal, but well, if your ad cost is $300, why don't you just give $100 cash? Just here's $100 if you sign up for my product. Maybe that is actually a better strategy. Maybe you don't need to give $100. Maybe I'll give you $20. I don't know, whatever is value, because sometimes you may be paying for ads more, and just direct cash incentive to that user might go a long way. It might be difficult tax-wise. It might be difficult to do this. So careful with that. But like I know that these logics often works in with crypto very well. Actually, I think they're overused, to be honest. Like, so I don't even know. It's like, I'll give you 5 million absolutely pointless tokens that you will never be able to use. They're also not listed on any of the exchanges and virtually has no value, but you will have 5 million of them, right? So make sure that it doesn't sound cheap when you do that. But generally, this is a trigger as well. Affiliate programs. So affiliate programs are having some bad rep, but I actually think that they're really great. Is you know, you basically pay someone with a certain degree of reach and influence to refer people. So like if you run a blog about technology, about like, I don't know, cryptocurrencies, about fintech, about photo applications, whatever, like those people have users who are interested in your product. So you may just you know, you may have an affiliate program. There are softwares that can facilitate running affiliate program, and you can do like affiliate is basically, hey, like I'll give you like one-time payment, like $10 for every person you refer that actually becomes a paid customer. So if we get money, you get $10 guaranteed. The more aggressive way or more entrepreneurial way, if you like, is you'll earn a one-time affiliate payout of like 25%, or it could be 30%, it could be 50%, it could be 70%, whatever you like, first month or first year of whatever we earn from that person. Again, there's a software so you can automate this whole thing. You don't have to do it manually. The other thing is like a limited time affiliate is like you'll earn everything you'll earn a percentage of everything we earn from that user within the 1 year, not just the first deal that they sign up for, but like whatever they keep paying us within 1 year. And obviously you can always have it like a permanent deal. So like you will always earn 25%, you'll always earn 50%. It's very aggressive from, you know, from the referred user, not in 1 year. This is a mistake, just like permanently, right? So like you always learn, like you basically have a passive income flow, like 25% or whatever that user makes us. And then the most, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to ask you, is that like a pyramid? Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, it sounds very much like network marketing pyramids kind of. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
So the so go back into this, like, so affiliate programs are absolutely, like, first of all, they're absolutely legit. And they've been quite nicely used by legit businesses. Like, you know, first of all, don't do shady stuff ever. Like that's the first thing. It's like be a law-abiding person that doesn't do, you know, scammy things. But generally, affiliate programs are like HubSpot, for example, is the world's largest marketing automation software. Give you $2,500 or something if you refer one paid customer. Like almost every software company in the world has an affiliate program. Like affiliates is a legit channel, and certain number of percentage of their revenue comes through affiliate programs. The way to look at affiliate program is you have a salesperson, and the salesperson is getting commission. So instead of hiring a sales team, you're outsourcing commission giving to the community. So, and these are not like random people on the streets. They're typically influencers. They're typically bloggers. They're people like who write content about something. There might be in the same space. There might be a company that is in the same space, in the same ecosystem. For example, like if I am building an ad tech company, I might be a very good affiliate partner to Google and refer affiliate ad platform signups, because to use my platform, they need to have a Google account. So I may just as well refer my users to Google and earn a little bit of commission doing that. So the pyramid thing is like, there is a thing, a pyramid affiliate. I think that this is the most shady one in terms of how it feels. It is also a bit complicated, but I think that these have a place in the ecosystem as well. The pyramid affiliate basically programs are the same regular affiliate programs, but you earn a percentage of the revenue or something of the. So if I invite someone and they invite someone, I earn from the second or third degree as well. The way I look at it is just generally a gamification. It's a gamified referral system, as with anything, these systems can be abused for, you know, for scammy activities, but those systems can also be used for, you know, effectively just like organically, you know, reducing your acquisition costs and legitimately you know, scaling your product. I've got one more question in the chat. I will quickly run through these and I'll go to the question. So that I can finish this thing, because I have a few left. So the last few things, like celebrate achievement with sharing it. So I guess simple thing is just like, hey, just share it on Facebook. You did something great, like you accomplished a certain milestone in this product. So you set up or like a product, whatever. And this is how you measure that. So like this is a screenshot of Mixpanel, but like you basically want to have cohorts for all the users that sign up in each week. But then you also should be able to segment those cohorts in, I want to see what that cohort looks like that was interacting with one of these growth triggers. So you want to be able to have a very advanced sort of like measuring system before you start these things, because at the end of the day, any of these ideas or any other ideas, as long as they're, you know, legit in general, is like they're only as good as like they work. So if you can make them work, just keep repeating what works, learn what works, do a lot of reading about these things. So so that's pretty much, and then just have fun. It's an experiment, you know. It's like it's not a one thing you do. It may be a few hundred times sometimes to even make it right. That's it for this. I will go to the question now, but after I answer that, please ask me more questions if you have. So how does a startup recognize the best selling point of their product? Many use the data of the potential competitors to shape how their own users experience their own products. So a selling point is kind of like a value proposition, right? So so I think that well, basically you need to understand who has the way to approach is like who has a problem, like what are the industries you're interested in, and like what are the companies out there, and then go talk to their customers and say, okay, so like one is like you can just copy your competitor and then think that they know what they're doing, and that might work. The other one is you can go to the customers of your competitors and say, hey, like I saw you using this product. Why are you doing that? What problem are you trying to solve? Okay, so how does this solution helps you solve that problem? Like, what would you want to be different about that solution? Like, what would you, is all of your problems solved? Are you happy? And they may say that everything's perfect, it's just like too expensive. And then you can choose, like, do you want to be in a game of like kind of race to the bottom, like who's gonna make the product cheaper and eventually give it for free? Or maybe they say like, I'll pay whatever it takes to solve this problem, but nobody has properly solved it. Therefore, I'm using this product. So I feel like that product is miserable, but the product is the best solution for my problem. And it just like alleviates maybe 5% of the pain that the problem is causing, but it's still better than nothing, right? Okay, this sounds good. Like, does that industry have money? And if they do, like, that might be a good thing. You may want to talk to more users and understand that. So I think that's pretty much this sort of thing. The other thing you can do is like, you can ask this really cool sales question. You can ask like, so tell me about your problems. Like, what would it mean to your company if you didn't have that problem? And this is how you can kind of reverse engineer the price. Like, understand like, how much are you willing to pay for that? Like, if you say like, hey, I have a product, like how much you willing to pay for it? They'll try to come up with a good deal for themselves. But like, what is like, so what does it mean for your company? Like, how much is it worth for you, right? And that might be a very different philosophy of answering that. All right, so I promised my email address. That's a real email address. So my name is Uldis, and my email is noreply@uld.is. And please feel free to reach out to me. I really enjoyed this conversation. I don't know if you have time for questions. I'm still here and open to take any questions as well. And yeah, and also feel free to follow me on like, you know, social networks, whatever. Reach out to me any form and shape, whatever you like. So yeah, and if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to go there or like.
Yeah, I've got a question. Thank you so much. Oh, this is like amazing. Really, really good.
Thank you.
Learned a lot. I've got a question. You know, with Pinterest, my question is, how do they actually make money? How do they monetize? I've always wondered.
Well, without going into like particularly pitching Pinterest or like everything, I mean, they sell ads in general. Pinterest has very, very loyal, very segmented, properly segmented by interests audience. The demographics are increasingly global. Like, they have majority of Americans using that product. It's an American company, and they have invested recently heavily on global expansion because they realized that they're running out of Americans, because almost all the Americans who might be interested in Pinterest are using the product. But because of the insane amount of information that people consume on Pinterest, they just have a lot of really targeted understanding of who, when, how is doing stuff. And the people on Pinterest are, how they pitch that is like, they love shopping. And that's something I've been always advocating for, is like, people love advertising and they love shopping. What they hate about ads and what they hate about shopping is being aggressively offered things that they don't need. But what if you know exactly the perfect time and exactly the perfect product that person wants to buy at that particular time? And Pinterest really, really fills in that niche of just being extremely relevant to particular kinds of people. Not everything can be sold on Pinterest. Not everything will work on Pinterest, but the things that does, that they work really, 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 really well.
Okay. Wow. All right. Never noticed. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a cool product. Like if you do something that's visual, like try out Pinterest for sure. Like don't leave it out. It's maybe undervalued social network a little bit in terms of potential. It has a massive reach, like massive reach.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you so much, Uldis. That was very informative, eh? I think we learned quite a bit. Yeah, I'm sure. I think we need to go and apply some of the things that we've learned today. I think I like the affiliate marketing. That could help quite a few of the guys who I'm working with currently. So I think I'll take that to them. Thank you for that. Are you still there? Are you still there? So is there any more questions? Just give people a chance to ask. All this, I think we may end this since there's no more questions. Thank you so much. All this, I'm sure people will get in touch with you, and I'll connect you with some guys who are doing some interesting things. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for everyone for attending today. Enjoy the rest of your evening. This has been recorded, so I'll just share it with all this, and we'll see which platform we can put it on for others to come and watch. Like he said, invite a friend, so maybe a friend will learn from today. Maybe they couldn't attend because of something else. So yeah, thank you so much. Enjoy your day and enjoy your evening, everyone.
Thank you so much for the honor to be here. I really enjoyed that, and yeah, please feel free to get in touch with me. Actually, the reason for me doing these presentations and talking to you is just I just love giving back to the community and talking to ambitious entrepreneurs like all of you. So yeah, just get in touch with me, and I'm happy to talk more. So have a wonderful evening, and yeah, and let's talk at some point or meet somewhere in the future. All right.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I'll be in touch. I'll chat to you later.
All right, thank you guys. I learned quite a lot from the conversations, and I'm actually gonna start implementing some of these things in my personal domain name, like onebusiness.co.zw. We've got quite a number of almost everything that was discussed in here. We've got a lot of relevance in my industry. I'm running an advertising company that is supposed to sell ideas and to sell the presentations these companies make. So I have to push them through social media and also push them through my website, onebusiness.co.zw. With that in mind, I realized that I actually have got 4,000 followers, and I can double that if I'm going to write to each and everyone just an email to say, can you invite 2 or 3 friends of yours? Then it means to say in a day or two, I would have doubled those likes. That means to say, because optionally, I'm against the idea of paid ads in terms of inviting people, because those people don't stay longer. So I've been growing organically, and I appreciate what you've also said. I should be referring people and asking people to have those affiliates to say, I can be paying my sales force, can be commission based. That's the kind of setup that I'm from my previous employment. That's where I was working. It was the same thing. We were doing referrals and commissions. But now I realize it's also time for me to do the same thing to my platform, and I can be in a position to increase or grow my audience. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you around.
Cheers, man.